I thought, and didn't we also, wasn't there one of the morale boosts for the kids was they could, if they got, okay, because there was a student that was, they would draw the student's name for something that they did, and they would go to the office to get a pencil. Now, I got to set this up. Now, I want you to tell the story back, and then I'll tell my side of it.
Yes,
let me tell my side first.
Yes,
and then
go.
You explain what happened.
Yes.
So, morning announcements, and they're going through. They draw a name. They'll say like Jenny from Miss McCann's class.
Yeah.
She went above and beyond and helped another student with blah blah. And they would go up to get a pencil from the administrator.
Yeah.
And then on the morning announcements, we're going through the thing, and I'm like taking attendance. I'm trying to everybody settling down, and they say Seymore Butts from Mr. Burden's class.
I think it was just Seymore. We didn't.
It was implied Seymore Butts.
But
it was the key was the word Seymore. Seymour was the name, and Seymore from Mr. Burden's class got a pencil. Well, here's what happened. Of course, and I'll let you tell the story, but I immediately
you go right ahead.
Like, who's Seymore? They're looking around. We're like, who's Mr. Burden? I think they said Seymore. And I'm like, what? Well, yeah, they said Seymore. Who's Seymore? And I'm looking at none of my kids just said Seymore until I realized I had a student who and my awesome my student from India. He's great guy. This dude's awesome. He went by his nickname, which began with a V, but his full name on the roster began with an S and could be mispronounced as Seymour if you're trying to pronounce it. So I think I rationalize, okay, they must mean he's Seymour, because I'm thinking maybe it was written funny. They tried to write his real name and they said Seymour. So I send him up to he's just like, all right. I send him up to the office, and he goes up to the office and he comes back with my principal's Proudney pencil, and he just kind of looks like they called me Seymour. Like he's telling me he's really just like perplexed, but just like we all just shrug it off, we go our day. And then I find out the story behind it. And please explain to our listeners how Seymour got his name into this contest.
Yes, because all of that was correct and accurate from your side. Oh my God. That was fantastic. But yes, see, the kids would, they would write their names for something. I mean, this is what?
I think teachers could write it, or kids. I think it was both.
Like
but yeah.
But because I was the only one that could see the digital thing. So again, they wanted to go back to pencil and paper, which I'm like, have at it,
Yeah.
And so
that's not create any problems.
Not at all. Yeah. So they had that mailbox by the cafeteria, right? Which is where all the kids threw all that stuff in, which that's a whole nother subject, because pieces of paper with kids' names on it were not the only things going in that mailbox. Of course, a lot of junk. Yeah, but anyway, so it's exactly what you said. That they would do those drawings, and of course, many times students were winning that maybe didn't deserve it on that particular day.
Mm-hmm.
The person,
I think it's worth to note too that the drawings took place days, if not a week later than when they were submitted. So you might submit one for a student that was just really good that day, and then the following week were just an a-hole.
Exactly.
And so it's like you're like, all right, so that
exactly. Yes, and unfortunately, the person pulling the names didn't know anything about any of the students at the school. So they had no way of knowing if a winner was truly deserving on that.
And also to the point where they thought there was a student named Seymour.
Exactly. So that was part of the experiment.
Yeah.
I was, having a tough morning, needed to
was your
smile.
testable variable right there.
That's exactly it, Mr. Burden. See, I'm glad we had this conversation. So yes, so I placed one in there, and I think a colleague and a good friend of both of ours was present. Yes, was present for it, and maybe saw that I had written, Seymore on the tag and threw it in there, and I'm like, let's see what happens, And so, yes, so the person who pulls the names came in, and of course, she also needed myself or another adult to actually be the one to pull the names ahead of time too, to make sure she could read it and whatever. Just we had to do as much work for her as
of course.
as we possibly could. Hold on, my dog is arriving.
Hello.
I know. Oh no, there she goes. She's following her boy. Yes. So, that day. So I think I, kind of showed the ticket, and I think our mutual friend was like, "Oh no." But I, put them on the table with the other tickets. And, sometimes the joke would be the other way around, where I'd pull the most illegible ones I could find, just to make her sweat a little bit. Yeah, exactly. So, and this was kind of that too. But yeah, that was exactly it. So I showed our mutual friend, and I think our poor mutual friend, he was like, I don't think there's anybody named that. And I'm like, oh, well,
but you picked the right teacher to put, because you had to put the teacher's name.
Most definitely. And yeah.
If there's any teacher that was going to play ball, it would have been Mr. Burden.
Would have been Mr. Burden. Yep. Yep. So when she read that name, and Seymore, Mr. Burden's class, congratulations. And I remember coming down to your room right after the news show, because I'm like, Mr. Burden's gonna think this is rich, he'll have to know that I was behind it, right? Except I got to your room, and I'm like, yeah, what'd you think about Seymore winning? And you're like, yeah, he already went and got his stuff and came back. And I'm like, who? And you're like, oh,
you have a Seymore in your class?
Like, wait a second, did this completely backfire? Like, you don't have a Seymore in your class.
What if I actually did have a Seymore in my class? That would have been hilarious.
That's where my brain was going, and I'm like, whose first name is Seymore? Because I swear I had this figured out, and then you gestured over to, the friend that you mentioned. You're like, yeah, you already went down to the office and came back. You got a pencil. And then, you're that student of yours, so well-meaning, he's at his desk like, yes,
and
here it is.
If there was, most of my kids are awesome anyways, but
yeah, well,
especially was one that would have deserved any kind of reward. So absolutely.
Right. But very diligent, very honest. And I'm standing in the doorway like,
yeah.
What? Like, where? I think I came over to your table and told you. I'm like, well, here's what happened to me, And I think, and you're there, and you're like, oh my god! Like,
how funny would it have been though if you put Butts? If she read Seymore Butts,
I know.
I mean, she would have been the Mo from Simpsons.
The Simpsons, absolutely. But see,
next week, IP Freely would have been the next student of the month.
That's it. But see, this was back in her early years when we didn't know quite how much intelligence was there. If I were to do it right now, I'd know I could put Butts and be perfectly fine. But back then, I think we still weren't totally sure. Although, did you see that people have been doing that to school board meetings now, Mr. Burden? That people have been people have been signing up to speak at school board meetings using names.
See that. Oh, somebody Bruce Wayne or something.
Yes, something like that.
All right, we're all right. The board now recognizes Bruce Wayne, and because this was and for people to know, like the school board meeting now, it's school board. To talk about the school board, that's a whole hot mess.
Oh,
and
God,
first of all, from politics, there's a big dog and pony show.
Oh, yes,
we have. I would argue now that there's maybe one or two board members now that I feel like they're in it for the right reasons.
Yeah,
and they're kind of trying. But there was this. I guess it was almost like the three harpies of the right versus the fascists on the left, and because we literally had a clown on.
Well, yes, we did. Yes,
we had Sugar Bell on the school board.
Sugar Bell,
and
Who's
this is not only
now,
Sugar Bell,
right?
What's that?
Did she retired now? Finally,
Well,
right?
retired, yeah, but I'm surprised she wasn't ousted when she told parents,
sure.
"We don't care about kids falling in the mud."
Yeah, exactly.
There was a whole hot
Anyway,
mess.
yeah.
Yeah, but there was drama, and it would like on Facebook, they would go back and forth, and they would always talk snotty about each other. And there was like they kicked one out of the meeting one time because she wouldn't wear a mask and she had a doctor's note. There's all just drama between them. And then like there was another one where I guess there was a scandal the dude had. So I don't know, but there's all kinds of stuff. But then the parents would come in. And of course, this is when like you had the Trump, Biden or whatever. You had all these, you had these folks, and you had the mask mandates, and all this, and you had characters. I swear it was a South Park episode.
Oh yeah.
You had and I would watch it with entertainment.
Oh sure.
Like the lady would come in wearing the American flag, and she'd have a fake eagle on her shoulder, and she'd talk about how, you know, my forefathers didn't die face down in the mud because for us to have, you know, that kind of thing. And then you'd have this next lady, she'd come in and she'd look like this little meek little woman. She'd come up and say, well, maybe the problem is all the sinners in here. And she'd go like church lady on them. And then but the other side too, we'd have the other side of idiots come in and be like, well, maybe you idiots over there kissing Trump's butt would realize but you had this dichotomy. It was a hot mess.
Oh yeah.
So they decided, I guess they cited something, so they changed the way that speakers would be allowed to speak.
So you have to sign up.
Sign up, and sometimes they had a mix of virtual and physical. And of course a lot of those characters were gone. So really the ratings went down after that. You know, I mean, this thing was like must-see TV until but leave it to the ingenious minds to sign up. You know, Bruce Wayne, Seymore Butts went from a star student to he wanted to speak at the
speak at the school board meeting.
Catch full episodes of the Educators Podcast every Thursday at 4 p.m. Real educators with the real issues in education. Thank you so much for watching. And of course, take care of yourself. Jeans passes to anyone who likes, shares, and comments on this video. Have a great week.